come here with nothing. Work hard. Be honest, diligent. You can make something of yourself. Your bootstraps can be pulled up. Black folks love that message. Partly. Right? Because you see, the American dream is something, it's a phenomenal dream. I get excited when I read, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and die by the creator. That stuff excites me. That very essence of the American experience is something, when you look at me, you're looking at a serious, bona fide American. In fact, I'm probably more American than most of you all up in here. My family, and most black folks, if they can trace their heritage back, courthouses hadn't burned down, have been here for a long time. The Earls in my family date back to the 17th century. They were owned by the Earl of Moray, who was given land in North Carolina, moved to Virginia. When the British evacuated New York, one of my relatives was on the ship going to Nova Scotia. I've been here, my line has been here since the founding. I'm not an immigrant who came at the turn of the century with the great industrial change. So I fundamentally believe those, I hold it dear. My father's like that. In America, those blacks believe in that. So when this change happens in the South, where they were born, where they grew up, many of them hadn't been as Booker T. Washington. He hadn't been off the plantation until he decided to walk to Hampton Normal Institute. That was their home. My grandmother, God bless her soul, God rest her soul, used to always say to us, y'all don't move away from around here. Stay where your people are. I said, why on earth would I want to do that? It's a big world out here, Grandma. I mean, she said a lot of other stuff, like she used to pray, and she would say, Heavenly Father, I want you to save as far back as the generations to come. And I would say, how can you save as far back as the generations to come? I mean, don't you mean save as far forward as the generations to come? African Americans wanted to stay. But this sharecropping thing wasn't working for them. And see, these laws also that were passed, these black codes, well, they developed a poll tax. They, did things like that. They redistributed land. But as I was coming into the campus this morning, I noticed something. There were these gentlemen who were working the land, and they had on green and white striped pants. Have you seen them before? You have seen them. You see them all the time. Well, interestingly enough, it immediately evoked into my mind this song right here. This is the second half of Long John. It's a chain gang song. Because you see, these new Jim Crow laws, some of them in many places said that if you can't guarantee that you have a job, you are a vagrant. And if you are a vagrant, you don't have a job or a place to live, you can be jailed. Fresh out of slavery, sharecropping ain't going too well for you. You're a young black man hanging around downtown. You can find yourself in a chain gang. This song is a great song. I want to put the last verse up here because I want to teach you the first part. Because it's done in the call and response style, which is steeped in the African tradition. It starts out by telling the story about Long John. It goes, one day, and you all repeat after me. I know some of y'all got it. You just shame. So if I say, one day, I was walking along. And I heard a little voice. But didn't see no one. But it was old lost John. Like a turkey through the corn. With his chain clothes on. He had a heel in front. And a heel behind. I said you couldn't hardly tell. Which way he was going. One day, boss say,
well, I heard the boss say,
if your boy is work,
if your boy is work,
then I'm gonna treat you well.
then I'm gonna treat you well.
But if you don't go to work,
But if you don't go to work,
then I'm gonna give you hell.
then I'm gonna give you hell.
But one day,
One day,
I'll be on my way.
I'll be on my way.
And you may not never,
And you may not never,
ever heard me say,
ever heard me say,
I'll be on my way.
I'll be on my way
Before the break of day.
before the break of day.
By the break of day.
By the break of day,
One day,
one day,
I'll be on my way.
I'll be on my way.
Interesting song because Long John worked on the chain gang. Probably got arrested for being a vagrant. But he had a plan and he wanted to get away. Now he couldn't stay in the South, he had to go north. So he hatched his plan of how he's going to do it. The song tells you. He had a heel in front and a heel behind. And you couldn't hardly tell which way he was. This is actually an old folk story. Long John had been locked up so long that he asked a buddy of his if he would give him the heels off his old shoes. So when he got a new pair of shoes, he took the heel off the old shoe and put it in the front of the new shoe. So he had a heel in and a heel behind. And you couldn't hardly tell which way he was going because it looked like he was walking backwards. Things like this chain gang here in their beloved homes where they grew up, because many of them want to stay near to where the family was. They want to stay near where they're stay with your people, baby. Ain't wild for you to go try. I want to go to Africa. She said, why do you want to go to Africa? We're from America. This is another reason why those individuals are looking to leave the South. It was touched on earlier. Now, I take a different pose. Depending, you know your students, but what you don't know is your parents. Right? Let me be clear about that. You know your students, but you don't know what mom and daddy gonna say. And I like to see some of y'all white folks right here, teachers. That's right, I said the white folks say the wrong thing out your mouth to those black children. I can see them coming to your classroom right now. Ooh, college educated, middle class Negroes in the new millennium. You're going to get told. But don't you be afraid of that. You understand?
That's right.
Don't you be afraid of that. What you be is responsible. Be responsible because, you know, I don't see the need to sugarcoat this. It was already told you, this happened. And not only did it happen, it was just, my next slide, I wanted to echo what Dr. Campbell said. Oh, I got to go back, I went a little too far. It was advertised. Bring the family, pack a lunch. This is what will happen. This violence that was used to reestablish the former order or social and political order in the South was another reason why, for many blacks, their beloved Southern home was not calling them to stay. Now, what's important to know is that not every white person went to that. Not every white person went to these things. But it was enough. It was a constant terror for many that they couldn't maintain. So, what did they decide to do? I keep going a little faster. Okay. So, how many of you all teach? How many of your students have art classes? Right? It's a joke, right? I'm just joking, right? How many have art classes? Art class in your school? You teach art?
I teach art
Integrated. Integrated. Look at you. How long have you been teaching? Ever. Look at you. Don't even say forever, just say ever. Right? So you know what you're doing, right? And you can integrate some of these. This is a wonderful portrait by the African American artist Jacob Lawrence. He did the Migration series, and this is panel 28, which shows blacks leaving the South to make way toward the northern cities. Whole families going, leaving the idea of being migrant workers to be sharecroppers for the idea of something new. If I live in Detroit, I sort of have lived a nomadic life. And so I lived in Detroit for a while. And when I moved to Detroit, I moved to Detroit from Virginia. I had lived in New York previously, but I went to Detroit from Virginia. So I met all these urban African Americans from Detroit. And they had been living in Detroit for a little while. And I spoke to somebody, he said, "Oh, you're so country, you're from Virginia."